We're joined now by Mark Thompson, the host of Make It Plain on Sirius XM Radio, and Jonathan Capehart, an opinion writer for the Washington Post and an MSNBC contributor. He's also host of a new podcast called Cape Up. I want to begin by listening to what President Obama said about this today. Let's listen to this.
I think it's important to separate out the pervasive sense of frustration among a lot of African Americans about shootings of people and the sense that justice is not always, colorblind. The way we change the system requires us to be able to reach out and engage the broader American community. And that requires being peaceful. That requires being thoughtful about what are the specific reforms you're looking for. The overwhelming majority of people who've been concerned about police-community relations doing it the right way. Every once in a while you see folks doing it the wrong way.
Mark Thompson, President Obama clearly trying to take down the temperature.
And thank you, Henry Lawrence. And I agree with what he said. I would just make a friendly amendment to the gentleman in the White House, and that is the way we change the system is to establish local community control and civilian oversight of police departments, and police departments are governed locally. That's what needs to be done. But I do think that there's even something to this that I hope everyone understands is even more frightening in all of this. Did I lose my, I think I lost my mic. African Americans, in many respects, wake up every day concerned about their lives, concerned about their well-being. Frankly, it's only my faith in God that lets me know I may make it home safely every night, but otherwise, we really don't know whether we'll make it home safely, whether we are actually going to be assaulted by the police. In the case of Terrence Crutcher, he didn't do anything wrong. In the case of Keith Lamont Scott, allegedly all he was doing was reading a book. One minute they say he has a gun, the next minute he doesn't have a gun, then he has a gun. I mean, it keeps going around and around. And as we want nonviolent protests, but Dr. King also said that so-called riots are the voice of the unheard. We call for peace. We call for nonviolent protests. We call for the measure I just recommended, local civilian control of police. But by the same token, as irresponsible as it would be for me to say, Lawrence, or any of us to say, or Jonathan or Tremaine to say, burn, baby, burn, it's also irresponsible to impose a curfew. That in and of itself is insightful, I-N-C-I-T-E. It's irresponsible for Donald Trump to run around saying stop and frisk. That also is insightful. We didn't even have a curfew last weekend when there was the suspected terrorist here in New York. So what is the necessity of a curfew in Charlotte? Tremaine is absolutely right. These types of curfews often do nothing but exacerbate the problem.
I want to give us a little picture of what the protesters are up against in that community and some of the feelings of that community. And this is from Robert Pittenger. He is the one of the local congressmen, North Carolina congressman from just outside of Charlotte, suburban Charlotte. He is a Donald Trump supporter. Let's listen to what Congressman Pittenger said today in explaining the protesters.
The greatest in their mind is the animus, the anger. They hate white people because white people are successful and they're not. I mean, yes, it is. It is a welfare state. We have spent trillions of dollars on welfare, but we put people in bondage so that they can't be all that they're capable of being.
Jonathan Capehart, that's that congressman's explanation. They hate white people.
And that's not what's happening here at all. And that tape you just showed just sort of highlights the incredible gulf between that elected member of Congress and the community he supposedly, or the area he supposedly represents. You know, in that clip that you showed of President Obama, what I thought he was doing there, he's playing a very complicated game, and game not in a pejorative sense. As Mark pointed out, you know, police departments are run locally. The president has no control over local police departments. So there's only so much he can say. And in the fact that the president talked about peaceful protests and talked about there's a way to get the system to pay attention to you, to me, what I heard was the president encouraging those overwhelming numbers of people who are out there on the streets in Charlotte to keep protesting, to keep having their voices heard, acknowledging the fact that there are going to be some knuckleheads who are out there not for the right reasons, but to not let those people and their potentially violent actions discourage them from making their voices heard. And while I know there are people who would like for the President of the United States, and this president in particular, to go way out there and say a whole lot more, we have to keep in mind that there are lines he can't cross, legal, constitutional, even rhetorically, that you would like him to, but he's just not going to. And so as we watch these pictures out of Charlotte, you know, I think we all hope and pray that what happened the night before and the night before that, we don't see that same sort of violence when this curfew, this unbelievable curfew, goes into place in a couple of hours.
Congressman Pittenger, who we just heard say about the protesters, quote, they hate white people because white people are successful and they're not. That congressman, hours after that statement got circulation, issued a statement basically saying he regrets it, didn't apologize for it. He said he responded to a reporter's question in a way that I regret. Just regret, no apology. Another Trump supporter, Kathy Miller, the county chair of the Trump campaign in Ohio, had this to say about this situation.
I don't think there was any racism until Obama got elected. That we never had problems like this. You know, I'm in the real estate industry. There's none. Now, you know, with the people with the guns and shooting up neighborhoods and not being responsible citizens, that's a big change. And I think that's the philosophy that Obama has perpetuated on America. I think that's all his responsibility. And if you're black and you haven't been successful in the last 50 years, it's your own fault.
So, Mark Thompson, no racism in America until 2008. That is in Trump world. She then issued a written statement saying that her comments were inappropriate. She did not say they were wrong.
Common right-wing, alt-right tropes is what we're hearing, those types of statements. And again, they exacerbate the situation. You know, we're always expected to talk about peace and being nonviolent, and we should, but then people like that make those statements, and again, they just make the situation even worse, and they're following the leader, their man Donald Trump, who's got this traveling, with Don King and everybody, he's got this traveling, really minstrel show in orange face that is doing even more to divide black and white here in this country. It's not helpful at all.
And Jonathan Capehart, Donald Trump is reaching back to stop and frisk, which Bill de Blasio was on this network last night with Rachel, pointing out that after we stopped stop and frisk in New York, crime actually went down.
Yeah, Donald Trump is sort of all over the place when it comes to stop and frisk, criminal justice, outreach to African Americans. I mean, he is, I can't tell you what he actually believes in terms of any of these issues that we're talking about. And that second clip that you showed of that woman saying the most unbelievable things about racism and African Americans and success or not success of African Americans just tells me that, again, there is this wide gulf between those two particular people and that particular subset of white people and the rest of the country that has some interaction with, knowledge, understanding of, fealty with their fellow Americans who also happen to be black. There's no possible way that either of those two people could say what they said, believe what they believe, and then say it out loud if they actually knew people of color and knew African Americans in particular.
Mark Thompson and Jonathan Capehart, thank you both for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Lawrence.
Thank you, Lawrence.